Hey, it's Friday. I'm stuck in traffic. That's all right. So I spent today with a bunch of grad students who are getting ready to go into the workplace. They're getting ready to graduate, and the company I work for kind of host call it portfolio review with them. And obviously there's a lot better people to offer advice on what the game design is and what the programming is. What I like to talk to soon-to-be grads about is that first job interview. I've sat in on a lot of interviews, and I think I have a good understanding of what you want to do and don't want to do inside of a job interview. My advice to people who are looking for jobs, I don't know if this fits for every industry, but certainly an industry like mine, an industry that requires collaboration between disparate groups. My advice is, when you're talking about your experience in the past, talk positively. You'll get this from other places too, but talk positively about the teams you've worked on in the past. So what can happen in a job interview is they can try to trip you up and see how much dirt or how much shade you'll throw on other people in order to make yourself feel good, because people will have a tendency to do this. But I know for the studios that I've worked at in the past, one thing that we really look for is that ability to collaborate and be a good team player. So if you're the kind of person in an interview that says, to the question, can you tell me about a time that your team hit some stressful point and resolved it, and you sit there and respond with, this guy Steve on our team was never doing his own work, so what I did was I picked the ball up for him and carried a lot of his extra load. Now, someone might say something like that to make themselves sound like they're a hard worker and they achieve above and beyond everybody else on their team. But as a person sitting in the interview, what I hear is, you didn't try to tackle the problem that was going on with your team. You just decided that you were going to solve it yourself in what I would call a very unconstructive way. You didn't instead approach Steve and say, hey Steve, seems like you're struggling. Is there anything we can help you out with? Instead, you just took it away from him, and we talked bad about him behind his back. You want to, in a job interview, portray yourself as someone who's a good team player. So to that question of, tell me about a time when you've reached some stress and you've had some guy named Steve who wasn't carrying his workload, you should talk about, well, we had to do some load balancing between some people on our team who started getting a little bit over their head, and I was happy to take on some of their work after we talked about what was the best way to resolve the stress of unbalanced workloads. That's a much better way of saying I took some work from Steve because he was not kind of carrying his own weight, right? I'm not trying to throw shade on it. It's the same story, but it's not painting myself as any kind of someone who's going to add stress or conflict to the team. You want to present yourself as someone who is good at getting feedback, as a team player, wants to be helpful to everybody in the team, to elevate the team as a group, as opposed to elevating yourself as the savior or the hero of the group. So that was a little bit of the advice I gave today, and I wanted to kind of put it out there for anybody who's on the channel listening. If you're in job interviews and you find yourself in this situation, try to find a way to paint yourself as a positive person. Even better, be a positive person. That's probably the better thing to do. But certainly if you feel you have a tendency to talk down other people in order to feel like you're talking yourself up, avoid doing that at an interview. It's not helpful to you. It might work in some places, but the industries that I've worked in before, any industry that requires collaboration, collaborative teams, that's not what you want to do. Be prepared, by the way, if you've got an interview set up, like a lengthy interview, have some stories to tell. Better if they're true, not necessarily have to be 100% true. You can embellish if you feel like it's going to help your story. But have some stories ready to tell for questions like, hey, tell me about a time that you succeeded, or tell me about a process that you changed for the better of everybody. What's the one thing you'd change at your studio if you could, or at your company if you could? Tell me about a good boss you've worked with. Tell me about a bad boss you've worked with. There are a lot of and you can research questions online to the kind of questions that are going to be asked in an interview. Be prepared, prepare yourself for an interview. Don't take it too lightly. Write these answers down, or not. You don't want to be reading verbatim, but key points to any of your stories. And one knock that I got at an interview a couple years ago was I was not specific enough with my answers. I talked in generalities and didn't name specific instances of things happening. So I've taken that to heart, and I'll pass that advice on to you. Try to be specific with your examples. Don't speak too broadly in generalities. You don't necessarily want to name names, and you certainly don't want to throw shade on people, but you do want to come across as specific, so it doesn't sound like you're totally making it up, which apparently that's what it sounds like. All happy ending. Like I think if I had got that job there, I'd probably be pretty miserable, and I'm pretty happy where I am right now. So that's your little bit of advice for today. I hope it's helpful. If you have other things about the hiring process you'd like to hear about from someone who does it a fair amount, you can put that question down in the comments below, and I'll try to answer it for you. If you like the channel, please hit like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll get more information like this out to you as soon as I can. Cheers.